So here we are. This is my week 3 list. Oh, looks like we might not get to play. Alright, so this is my week. Alright, this is my week 3 list. Raddic tells Zealot, kind of an aggro-oriented mid-range Orzhov deck. We'll see how it does. First opponent is Winter, Misanthropic Guide. The other matchups, Control and into Slumfoot and Squee mid-range. I'm a little less confident about those. But we'll see. Okay, on the play. This is a good hand. So we can go turn 1 Concealed Courtyard, turn 2 Raddic. That'll actually get us ahead a lot, but we might want to get another creature on board just to avoid sack effects. We'll see what they play. We might go turn 1 on their turn, Fatal Push, if they have, what's Winter 4/4 as well? 3/4, okay, great. So cannot block Raddic, depending on what they have on board. Knight of Grace, definitely in play here. We're going to play out a knight earlier. Opponent's taking a lot of mulligans, that's great. Just going to set up my spreadsheet where I keep track of all the games I play like some sort of obsessive Magic player. That's me. Q-Man 420. Raddic tells Zealot, it's the mid-range deck, and I am playing Winter, Misanthropic Guide on the play. I'm really lucky with my play draw recently. Not gonna lie. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-3 total. So opponent mulled down to 6. Still gonna always start here with Sealed Courtyard. So do we think opponent? You know, we can actually take a look at the opponent's deck list, and I wouldn't normally do that. In this case, I want to know if I'm good to play Raddic or not. So let's see what we have for them in their Winter. If they have sack effects, then obviously I don't play Raddic. And if they have sack effects, then we don't. So, okay. Well, there they go. They got their turn 1. They got their Inquisition. They're going to hit Dark Ritual. I think it's almost always the case if they take Fatal Push. Alright, here we go. I have their list open. They have Toxic Deluge, Damnation, and Blasphemous Edict. And instance, they have Shieldred's Edict. They do have Shieldred's Edict, but they take the Fatal Push. So my guess is, do we play IR's Oathsworn? Maybe we go and play IR's Oathsworn here. Anyways, enough of that deliberation done. Get on board with the knight, see where they're going. Signet, so they're going to be playing Winter next turn. They have a removal here, like a Fatal Push for our knight. We are playing Cavern Knight next turn. Beginning of their upkeep. Ooh, okay, nice. It's bothersome. That's a little nicer. Let's name Knight here, and go ahead and Knight of Grace. draw land next turn, we can shoot Winter with Get Lost. Ooh, they play Shieldred. That's fine. What do we draw here? We draw a land. Okay. We're still gonna hit Shieldred. What do they have? They have one sorcery land. As long as they're 4 more card types, so they're not. We're just gonna start really getting ahead here on board. And what do we have with Aya's with Swarm? It has 4, so it still needs to attack in twice. So there's still land, sorcery, creature in the yard. They can play out Winter this turn. Maybe looking at Fury in hand. I'm not sure. Oh, a Toxic Deluge, possibly. Okay, interesting. They do nothing. I am not going to play out my commander here. That seems like a bad move, playing out my commander. They might have Damnation or Toxic Deluge in hand, as well as something like Blasphemous Edict. Swinging with everybody. Four, 8, 9, 10, that's 4, and 6 make 10. Okay. Bitter Triumph. Okay. That's fine. Now I will play out Raddic. I did not have a Wrath, but I played around it there, which I think is correct. And now, even if they play Winter, they are just dead on board. Unless they drew a Wrath, which would be very sad for me. So this is sort of the aggro theme. Here we are. They are now dead on board. That's fine. Game. So here we go. Swing in. Get to draft. What are we going to take? So let's assume that they weren't dead on board here. Probably going to take something like the Dauntless Bodyguard in case they draw a Wrath, but you could also just see in case they're taking Murderous Rider. We can remove Winter before their turn. Play out a land, then we still have the Rider that we can play, and then Raddic we can release, so probably would have been turn 3 Raddic. What do we have here? So we have no mana for either of our removals, but we do have Arya's Oathsworn again and Lady of Malice again. So we have an aggro start, but we're on the play. We probably want to be a little bit more that we're on the draw, rather. If they ramp again, looking quickly at their list, they have Grazer, Birds of Paradise, Halfling, Kami. They have Ragavan, a lot of good turn 1 plays. So we probably want to be a little more proactive than this. This is going to suffer a lot if they go turn 1 Ragavan and we go turn 1 Pass, and then we go turn 2 Creature, and then they go turn 2 Removal Spell. It's just not fast enough on the draw against what their deck is capable of, or if they just ramp into Winter right away and we don't have a way to remove him. Okay, this is better. Turn 1 removal, turn 2 removal. If we draw land off of a Surveil, we can get a turn 3 Black Market Connection, which means we can start ramping and we can get a Changeling on the board, for a Shapeshifter rather on the board. Goes with Raddic, 1 ring, obviously great, but we have 2 sources of life loss here. Wandering Emperor, just great creature generator. Samurai, not Knights. But... Okay, and so no turn 1 play, this is great. We've got 3 pieces of removal here. 2 Wrath Insurances. Turn 2 play either, also great. Hello. Oh, I hope clicking hello did not just choose a land for me. Whew, thank goodness. Let's see, so we will Surveil here. do we want our third land? I think we do want our third land. Okay, swamp, and we say your go, opponent. We can hit enchantment or planeswalker. So we probably want to save Get Lost for maybe like a Liliana or Davriel or not Nyx. Omnivorous Flytrap. A 2/4. If there are 4 or more. So the question is, do we swords? I think we swords this one, and then we can Patriarchs their commander. Isolated Chapel. We can go by Black Market Connection. So they probably don't want to play Winter now, unless they want us to start drawing cards as well. They're probably waiting to get a little bit more in the yard. The fact that they don't have anything in the yard now is great for us. If they are screwed on lands, it's supreme. Okay, so they still may have a Wrath. We're going to wait a little bit to play out Raddic. We don't need to anyways. We can already put one attacker on the board and hold up the Wandering Emperor. Beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card. So we can Patriarchs that already if we want to keep them off of card advantage, which I think we do. Because we're going to start drawing here off of, so we're going to big spenders at the beginning. Oh, Portable Hole. No, that's okay. It's 2 or less. I was like, what a waste. So we will go ahead and we have 3 black and 2 white. We will add a white source here, given what's in our hand, and we will, so again, looking at their list, they have Edict, Damnation, and Toxic Deluge. We don't get anything off of playing the Raddic this turn because we can attack in, so we're just going to pass here. Hold up the Wandering Emperor for Chief Loyalty. Signet, fine. I think we flash in Emperor here. Minus.
I've learned much.
Next turn, we're gonna put our counter. Here we're gonna be really conservative. We're gonna put the counter on our Samurai has Vigilance, but we want to swing in with our Shapeshifter token.
Show them how we greet our enemies.
Maybe we just do this. Okay. Opponent maybe not realizing we have first strike. And we will hurt you. Go big here. So putting some pressure on the board. We are, after all, the aggro-leaning mid-range deck. We can just keep minus an Emperor at this point. We have board. We're losing 1 life a turn, but that's fine. 17 turns, it's a long time. So Deluge, yep, there's 1 Wrath. And I saw that coming. Still no reason to play Raddic yet. We can make a token with Black Market Connections, so losing 4 life next turn. Mesmeric Orb. Yep, that's fine. We can still get them up with creatures potentially. So we will create the Shapeshifter token and the treasure. That
to me.
Do we want to play out Raddic, or do we want to hold up the Get Lost? I think we'll play out Ghost back in here. And get rid of the orb. It's annoying. And then we'll enter. Again, we have the board presence here. We can keep them off of Winter. Definitely go for Crawler first, although we're going to get opponent still not doing anything. Very suspicious. 6 mana. Slag Storm to each creature. Yep, that's fine. Let's get the creature out of your yard. My turn. Just gonna go with token. Still minus the Emperor.
May your blade strike true.
Say go. Still have the board advantage. Still losing life though, unfortunately. Okay. So they play out Winter, which makes me think maybe they don't have a Wrath in hand. If they're ready to go with their commander, I think we can drop Raddic. Okay, let's get rid of that Deluge. So this is either like a super bluff on their part, and they have like Damnation or something in hand, or we are going to get Raddic out now. Yeah, okay. Opponent's seen enough. There we go. So 2-0 with this Raddic list to get as aggressive as possible using good Orzhov cards in general. We have like the generic good creatures, generic good removal, including Tithe. We have Handtate, removal, Dark Ritual, generic good stuff. So this break expectations. I'll go into this card in a moment. Thoughtseize, generic good stuff. I'll keep to this here actually. So here is our 1 CMC sort of interaction package. 1 CMC Handtate, 1 CMC generic good creatures. I'm going to put Pride there, Oscillate Pride there too, because in 1/1, Oscillate Pride is 1 CMC. Then we have our 2 CMC good stuff and removal package, generic good stuff, interaction, generic good stuff, Bowmasters, Sworn leave there, removal, removal. Did you get the theme yet? It's Orzhov, after all. Juggernaut, Peddler, generic good stuff, actually put with discard. Then we have our Knight package. So this is sort of like our let's trigger Ral as soon as possible. Skyclave Apparition, going to put it to removal. Firefox Bodyguard is nice because it's both. Black Market Connection is kind of generic good stuff. Wouldn't play this in many decks, but the Changeling triggering Raddic is huge for us, especially if we get this down on turn 3 or if like a turn 1 Dark Ritual. It'd be really strong in this specific deck because we only need one Changeling at a time to trigger Raddic, and it's always great to be able to swing in already when you've just played Raddic, as you saw in that last game. Toxic Deluge, so this is board wipe, removal, generic good stuff, board wipe versus, especially versus green-white, generic good stuff, Liliana. I'm going to put it over here, a separate pile. Liliana is a little more interesting in this deck, I'll get to that later. Anguish Unmaking, removal, Phyrexian Arena, generic good stuff, the One Ring. Elenda, part of the Night package, Shieldred, generic good stuff. The Wandering Emperor I will put under removal, Virtue of Loyalty. Go under the Night package, Solitude, removal, Elspeth, I'm going to put over here too, talk about that, and then a Land Cycler, which I will put with the land. Okay, so this is the deck outline. We have a lot of good Orzhov cards, just in general. Card advantage, the best low CMC creatures here. Ghost Vacuum, good for dealing with graveyards, you saw in that last game. And then here we have the Orzhov removal package, which is generally pretty good. We have not so many ways to deal with Planeswalkers. Get Lost, Ossification, Bitter Triumph, Long Goodbye. I guess we've got a few ways, actually, to deal with them. And quite a few turn 1 plays. We've got 4 or 5, including Break Expectations, pieces of Hand Hate, 2 Wraths if we need to pull the trigger, and then we've got, sorting through the Knights package of the ones that I have with my wild cards, the Dust Shadow and Grace that gain hexproof, and in my deck are always going to be 3/2s, and First Strike can be really big in helping us go aggro. Another flying First Striker, White Orchid Phantom, that also gives us some incidental hate on their lands, especially versus 3-color decks. Yara's Oathsworn, which is a nice, just evasive attacker in the early game, and if it's left around, can grow into a threat and get us a card we need to get out of a certain situation, or win the game, close out the game. Dust Shadow, also evasive, so really the low CMC Knights, the idea is that they can attack in. Nadar, just generic good knight. Adeline, of course, great aggro creature. History of Benalia, if we have enough knights on board, can pump us, gives us 2 knights in case one gets removed. Werefox Bodyguard, removal and a knight. Also potentially saving one of our creatures, really good. Elenda, obviously busted in this deck, even if isn't so strong on her own as a knight triggering Raddic, also fitting into the general hexproof from theme that we have going on with Knight of Grace, Knight of Dusk Shadow, and our commander. And Virtue of Loyalty, obviously letting us play out small threats and take over the board eventually. So the general idea of this deck is that we're interactive. We get on board early with knights or with just generic good creatures. By the time Raddic comes down, we've exhausted the opponent a little bit, and then we just start generating card advantage through Raddic with removal spells, protection spells, really aggressive cards like Valiant Knight. Smitten Swordmaster gives us incidental life gain, so does Blacklands Paragorn, which somewhat negate Phyrexian Arena and the One Ring. And then where were we? Blacklands Paragon, another History of Benalia, and the Circle of Loyalty, buffing our creatures, and usually not costing full price. This deck is going to be a little softer versus tempo plays, given that it has no easy way to respond to them, so your best bet against blue decks is to mulligan for some sort of early interaction or early plays. We do run Cavern of Souls. Also against just better mid-range decks, this deck has to really go fast. We have to get out there early, hope we can remove their commander, and start putting them in a squeeze before they can get their creatures that just overvalue us, because our creatures are really good on the low end, but we don't have any haymakers besides Raddic. These spells over here, Break Expectations, again, just really, this card is in here to try and help us with the mid-range and the tempo game, but given that one of my opponents this week is Slimefoot and Squee, I would much rather Cackling Observer because we get to exile the card in their hand. 3-1 also gives us a lot more tempo versus other tempo decks or control decks if we can exile a Wrath or a counterspell. And then we have 3 damage on board. And them getting to seek a non-land card is not great when it goes out of the game, but it's with lesser mana value than the exiled card, which is really good. I love this card when I play it in Laza of last week, so I think if I could resubmit the list for this week, I would take out Break Expectations and put in Cackling Observer, or I would take out Liliana and put in Cackling Observer. Liliana usually wouldn't run in this deck because the parity and card advantage, we're not playing a huge board, although we are pressuring them a little bit, and it does remove a blocker, but it is a nice combo with our commander who gives us a free card to pitch every turn we're swinging in. And Elspeth is also a potential cut. The lifelink and the flying are there for Raddic, or another big knight we have, to be able to swing in past blockers to give us some evasion, and the lifelink to negate Phyrexian Arena, the One Ring, and Black Market Connections are possible draws from Gix. This is the deck, the general idea of it. It's okay. We won our first game. The next 2 matches are against Slimefoot and Squee, mid-range combo, and against Sarkhan Unbound, Teamer Control, which is actually a really nice deck another member of the league has been working on. It's like, is it Control plus free ramp and Uro and Minsc and Boo. So very nice. You get to run Growth Spiral, you get to run the other 2 mana instant Planar Genesis that lets you put cards in your hand and a land onto the battlefield at instant speed. Uro, of course, fantastic to be able to run a control deck, and Minsc and Boo as well, very strong card. Can also potentially run Noxious Revival and cards like Veil of Summer. That deck, I think we have some game against with our discard, and their Wraths are going to hit our smaller creatures, but not Raddic, although our Hexproof doesn't really bother them. The Slimefoot and Squee matchup is going to be really rough, because if they can get enough blockers down to prevent our bigger creatures like Raddic from swinging in, they can jump, force us to sacrifice a creature. They lose Slimefoot and Squee, and then they reanimate their biggest threat. So we're going to be hoping for Cling to Dust in that matchup. That's another matchup where, again, Cackling Observer would have been great. And yeah, we'll just have to see. Solitude, Anguished Tongue Making, Despark, Ossification. Hope we can get what we need. Portable Hole, Fragment Reality in that matchup. Hope to be on the draw. No, on play, rather. Thanks for watching. First game. And come play in our league.